Hello, you. It's me. And I wasn't going to make this video, but I'm making it now. Somebody had put a comment in one of my videos that I didn't like, and I very rarely will erase a comment because I believe, regardless of your comment, good or bad, I don't mind leaving it up there. But this one I took down because of I don't know. I just didn't like it. It made me uncomfortable and I took it down. Was it the worst thing in the world? No, but I just didn't like it. I didn't want it on my comments. And that is what brought me to this video, honestly. People seem to get up in arms and scream that people are being silenced for what they have to say, that they're taking away their freedom of speech. But that is not what is happening. Their freedom of speech is there, which is why they can say every terrible, horrible, or kind thing that they want to. The thing is freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences of your speech. You know, if I told my best friend, you look like a fat pig today, that's my freedom of speech to say so. But it's also freedom for her to say, fuck you, don't talk to me anymore. That's the consequence of what my freedom of speech allowed me. So all these people that are getting fired because they were laughing and dancing and joking because someone was murdered that they didn't agree with, that's the consequence of your free speech. They can claim that, oh, well, Charlie Kirk was murdered because of his free speech. That's his consequences. Okay, but they can't get consequences. They're fortunate that that isn't happening to them. They're dancing around because somebody was murdered, and then they're shocked when they get fired. They're lucky that's all that happened to them. Another company, if I work for a company and I say a bunch of stuff that they disagree with, here in the United States, or at least in California, they can fire you. They can fire you for that. You embarrass their company. You put out content that they disagreed with, and they can fire you for that. Yes. You can lose a friend for that. Yes. You can use a family member for that. Yes. People have divorced for things like that. Why are you shocked that that happened? Kimmel, he says a lot of a lot of things I disagree with, put it that way. I find kind of disgusting and gross. But what's even worse is he pushes out propaganda, stuff that isn't true. And I thought that yellow journalism is illegal. Isn't it illegal? And yet he's been spewing lies for years. It finally caught up to him. Am I happy for it? I'm quite neutral, to be honest. I'm not happy or sad, because I don't watch his show. It doesn't affect me in any way, shape, or form. I haven't watched him in a very long time, because I don't like his politics and I don't like what he has to say. I turn him off. So it doesn't affect me. I guess I'm sad in a way that he had to lose his show in order to learn the lesson that you need to watch what you say. In fact, I feel bad for all those, in my opinion, horrible people who were laughing and joking about a murder and then they lost their job. But that's the consequence of your freedom of speech. They seem to think that they should be free of consequences as well. It doesn't work like that. And they're fortunate that all it was getting fired. Did they get beat up? Did they get hurt physically? Because according to them, that should happen. According to them, that's okay. According to them, Charlie Kirk getting murdered is okay. He deserved it. Well, then you should be satisfied with the fact that all you got was fired. You should be fortunate that you weren't murdered by somebody on the right who said, I disagree with you, bang, bang, you're dead. That's an extreme, I know that. And I don't like throwing that out, but it's true. It's absolutely true. This just drives me crazy because they can see it one-sided, they can't see it from their own. Consequences happen. They're not shutting up your free speech. They are removing you from being associated with them. Because real life consequences for a business, for a company, having somebody represent them like that, is that they can get sued. And they don't want that. They want to make money, not pay out money. This has never been, it never clicked in their brains. If I'm on the internet and I say, oh, I work for CNC Daycare and I think that this was just hilarious, serves you right. Okay, well, CNC Daycare may not feel that way and say, well, you were representing us as one of our employees, so we don't want you here anymore. You're fired. That's a real consequence. And you're lucky that's all. You're lucky that's all. You can say what you want. You have the freedom of speech in America. But you do not have the freedom from the consequences that is received by what you said. I don't know how to say that enough to make people understand. I know that most of my people that listen understand that. They're going to say yes, of course. But for some reason, I hate to blame the younger generation because it's not just the younger generation. I've seen plenty of people in their 50s, in their 60s, spewing such rhetoric. And it's just not true. Your First Amendment rights have not been shut down. You're just receiving the consequences of your First Amendment rights to say what you want. Let that be a clear definition so that they can understand. This, like I said, this is not a happy topic for me. This is still very sore. I feel so bad. So Charlie Kirk is gone, okay? But his family remains. His family watched it happen. All those young students watched it happen. Anybody who's seen the videos watched it happen. It is shocking. I don't know how to express it in the right way. But I saw the video. It left a very horrible impression on me. It's just tragic. I don't know how else to express it. But, you know, the whole saying of fuck around and find out, I mean, that's kind of what's happening. And I feel bad for these people who are losing their jobs. They're losing their ability to pay their bills and buy food and pay for housing and et cetera, et cetera. I do feel bad for them in a way because that's a horrible thing to have to go through. And I hope they grow, and I hope that they not only find work and continue their lives, but maybe they'll learn. Maybe one or two even can learn from this experience. But I'm sad because it's a hard thing when you don't have a job. You know, whoever you are, however horrible I might think you are, or great I might think you are, you know, all of this is so negative and it affected so many people, and I just hate it. I really just hate it. It's a terrible thing, but I do hope that people will grow, change, learn, maybe, I mean, if you felt that way, then maybe at some time keep it to yourself, or keep it to a very small group of people who will agree with you. That way you can still express yourself. But if you're going to express it to the public, some people in the public may not agree with you. You might get consequences to what you say. I'm not telling you to shut up. And if you don't want to monitor yourself, if you don't want to be careful what you say, then so be it. But you may suffer consequences. And it just, it's a harsh way to learn a lesson. But I hope that maybe some have. Or maybe this will steer them in the opposite direction and they'll scream out loud more. I don't know. I can't even tell you if it's the good or bad. But if I see somebody who's just, talking and I just can't, they just anger me by what they say, I just don't watch them anymore. When I see Gypsy talking and she's lying and she's just, pulling all those, oh, I'm so innocent and I didn't do anything wrong. I want, I've thought about, how come she's not getting any consequences? Sure, she was in prison. She was only there for 8.5 years, on parole for 1.5 years. I don't feel like that's enough consequences for her. Does that mean that I have the legal right to go and force more consequences on her because I disagree with her, because I don't like her? No. I just tune her out. She doesn't matter. And the only reason why I bring her up and talk about her is because of the horrendous things that she has done, probably will do in the future, and just the horrible things she says. I think people should understand. She is a criminal. She has issues that are dangerous to the population, and people need to be aware of that. That's all, and hopefully justice will be served. But I don't think justice is somebody going and doing to her what she did to her mother. I don't think that's justice. I think more justice would be putting her in a prison cell for the rest of her life. Not giving her all the extras. That's her suffering that she earned by committing such a heinous crime. Living out her life like that. But, who knows if that'll happen. But again, it doesn't give me the right to be the bearer of justice and go fix it in the way that I see fit. That's not legal. That's not how a society works. That works. We don't do that. You'd think that I wouldn't even have to say this. How do people not know and understand that? What are they teaching in schools these days? They're certainly not teaching consequences, but maybe they need to start. People need to understand. Things happen. What you do, not just your actions, but what you say, create consequences, especially if people don't like it. But it still doesn't give the right to take a life. It just doesn't. And it doesn't give you the right to lie about it either. Jimmy Kimmel lied and said that the shooter was a right-winged wingnut. But he wasn't. He was left. He had a partner who was trans, and he felt he had the right to kill Charlie Kirk. But he didn't. And that's why he was arrested. And that's why he'll probably end up in prison for a really long time. And we need to, that is what prison is about. Consequences. Don't do things that land you there. Even if you want to. Or else that's where you'll go. Even Gypsy went there for a little bit. But, these kids, not just kids, these people are learning. It's not about taking away your freedom of speech. It's about the consequences of what you said and how it affected other people. And that's it. I still feel bad for them, but I do hope that they will learn. It's a harsh lesson, but sometimes it has to be in order to make enough of an impression on them that maybe they will second guess and not do something so stupid. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's just me ranting for forever. But thank you for listening. And that's all I have to say.